So, welcome back, Jeff. Good to have you with us. And I know Adrian did a great job with you last week while I was out on vacation for a few days in Phoenix. Good to see you back, and good to know that we're that much closer to the start of the baseball season.
Thanks, Steve. Good to be back. Good to be kind of approaching normal. Been a really busy baseball injuries week, unfortunately, but also a huge draft week. Big draft weekend coming up. Lots of people doing their drafts this weekend. So getting excited about that.
The injuries are a problem. And, as much as maybe Fernando Tatis dodged a bullet with that left shoulder, now we're hearing that Eloy Jimenez has shoulder discomfort of his own. This is not good because Jimenez, along with Luis Robert, two of the great young outfield stars that the Chicago White Sox have assembled these last few years.
Yeah, I was watching this game live on MLB Network and saw it as it happened. And, my first reaction was, oh my God, that ball's carrying. It's like the 2019 baseballs all over again. And then I look up and I see him like kind of sitting by the fence like, oh no, what happened here? And it looked innocuous at the time. Didn't even look like much, but we'll see. The White Sox were as vague as possible when saying shoulder discomfort. We'll see after further exams. I hope it's not like it popped out, a dislocated shoulder or anything.
Oh, that'd be awful.
It could be awful. The good news is not his throwing arm. So that's one thing that you could say in his favor. But, obviously it affects his swing. And, the White Sox have a problem. They have Jose Abreu, they have AngelVaughn, they have Eloy Jimenez. Two of those have to play the field. Only one can DH. And Jimenez is just a DH waiting to happen. He's not a good defender, and he hurts himself a lot out there. The problem is neither Abreu nor Vaughn can play left field as far as I can tell. Maybe Vaughn eventually.
That's a good point. AngelVaughn's going to make the team. We were told when he was drafted that he is the first baseman of the future. But
yep.
Abreu, who had that great season last year, you always wonder, do you think it's tougher for guys when they're not playing the field to just hit and get up there and produce versus somebody that at least is in the game all 9 innings and has an opportunity to kind of stay active both on the field and when they're at the plate?
I think it probably varies from player to player, but no question. I would think there would be an adjustment, especially for a young player like Vaughn. He's probably not. He's probably used to playing the field at some point. And it's not even like, I know he had some third base experience, but they've got Yohan Moncada over at third base. They can't put him over there either. Frank Thomas always used to hate being the DH. He always wanted to play the field. He always insisted upon it. I think Albert Pujols was the same way for a while. But sometimes the needs of the team kind of dictate that at some point. And unfortunately for Vaughn, he's the low man on the totem pole, so he gets the leftovers. He gets what he gets, and he doesn't get upset.
Who are some of the other injuries that we're tracking right now at Fangraphs?
A bunch of things we're checking out here. I would say George Springer's one we're watching closely with that oblique strain, grade 2 oblique strain. The other big one, at learst personally, I have a lot of Springer, but I even more of Zach Gallen, and that was a freak injury. He even pitched with it. He had a sore forearm, discomfort in the forearm. He felt it swinging a bat. It turns out he has a hairline fracture there, and he can play light catch, but he can't pitch right now.
Yeah, that's a blow because obviously Gallen was projected as even the opening day starter. I know they've got Madison Bumgarner, who's thrown much better this spring, but Gallen is the young arm that they're really banking on. And I guess that also brings up the debate even more about pitchers just swinging or getting rid of that altogether and just going to the full-time DH in both leagues so you can avoid any potential injuries with pitchers having to swing a bat.
Right. And we saw some blowback against the owners here that, hey, they're the ones that use the universal DH as a negotiating tool rather than a safety issue like they did last year. They tried to ensure that they could get the expanded playoffs. The players wouldn't bite. And see, the thing is, once the players commit to a collective bargaining, that they have to go down that path. They can't just say, no, we don't want it. Once they say, okay, we're going to negotiate this, okay, now it submits them to the whole process a little bit. And we got a big collective bargaining agreement that's due at the end of the season. So you can see why the players want to give up a big chip like that. And the expanded playoffs is a much bigger chip than the DH. The DH should be a safety issue. The owners could have had it that way, and instead they chose to use that as part of bargaining.
At the same time, you get a universal DH in the National League. And let's just take the Mets, for example. Now, all of a sudden, you can DH Pete Alonso and put Dominic Smith at first instead of having to trot him out into the outfield every afternoon.
Yeah, and that means someone like JD Davis gets to play, or and they have the thing is the Mets are better positioned with it. They signed Kevin Pillar, they signed Jonathan VR. All those guys are something's got to give with those guys. The Padres, the Dodgers, they're in better shape. The Reds have two DHs in the outfield, and Jesse Winker and Nick Castellanos. They could really use a DH. That would be very helpful for them. There's some teams that are better prepared for that than others in the National League, but. Yeah, things have changed at the last second in MLB before. There's probably a scintilla of a chance that it happens, but because of the unique nature of the collective bargaining agreement, probably not.
So Lance McCullers signs a 5-year, $85 million extension today with Houston. And I've always looked at Lance McCullers and thought, nice pitcher. Nice middle of the rotation starter. I never really looked at him as a top of the rotation arm based on his fantasy values. But hey, it's a very good contract if you're McCullers. And of course, the Astros, now they know they've got him locked up for another 6 years.
Yeah, that's right. And, he's out, theoretically, he's out of the injury nexus now. He had his first year back last year. Gloves are off this season. He'll be able to throw more innings. He's added a third pitch. So I'm intrigued with McCullers. I wish I had more of them so far, though I still have 6 more drafts left.
Let's talk about the unfortunate news to Kirby Yates out there in Toronto. Here's a guy that was thought to be one of the premier closers in the game, and now he's going to probably miss the whole season.
Yeah, when they said pronator strain, that was your sign that it was probably going to need Tommy John. Sure enough, the next day it was. And that's a big one. Jordan Romano's the guy we're probably pointing towards as the most likely to be next in line. But the manager, Charlie Montoya, did say he wants to use a committee of sorts. So I think Rafael Delis is also in the picture, maybe David Phelps. I think what happens, though, is they kind of want to be able to manage that, manage the bullpen a little bit like the Rays in meaning like have some flexibility. You have an ace reliever concept. If they need Romano in the 7th or 8th in a key spot, he wants to have that latitude to be able to bring him in. I think more and more teams are saying that, doing that. And so that's why he said that. But hey, if he knocks down 3 saves in a row, be there for the 4th.
I do. What are you hearing about Jose Leclerc out there in Texas?
Oh, it's not good. The last I heard, he got sent back to Texas to get that elbow looked at. The degree of pain is what, you never like hearing the degree of pain he felt. Oh, it's like, ooh, that's probably going to be TGS is my guess.
Man.
The Texas bullpen is barren right now. Jonathan Hernandez is hurt. Joely Rodriguez is hurt, although he'll probably come back in a couple of weeks. Brett Martin is hurt. So we're looking at Ian Kennedy and Matt Bush as the 2 most likely closers. It's worth noting they pointedly made a point of not naming a closer. This is another one where they're going to keep us guessing. And we don't know how many saves there's going to be. Texas is going to keep up to 7 starters. They're going to use 2 tandem starters for 2 of the slots in the rotation. The old minor league play there to have, 2 starters slotted on a given day. It's going to be a nightmare to try to handle that. So, diminish the values of guys like Dane Dunning and things like that we thought might have some upside. He's been announced as one of the tandem guys. So, you're hoping he comes in second.
Jeff Erickson back with us from rotowire.com. You can check out all of Jeff's work and, of course, follow him on Twitter at Jeff_Erickson. So many great things that is going on right now as we get closer and closer to the start of the season. All right, we were bringing up injuries earlier. Let's talk about the situation right now with the Padres and their rotation. You're still seeing Mackenzie Gore get a real chance, and it looks like they're taking a long look at him. I still think he's got a real shot to start in El Paso this year in AAA, but nonetheless, Jeff, if Dinelson Lamet's not ready to go, you wonder if Gore is going to be the guy next up.
Yeah, I could see that. And, you look at him and, we didn't see a lot of Gore last year, and I was kind of wondering about that. I wonder if they just, they wanted to make sure he was absolutely ready. Maybe he wasn't looking as great in the alternate training camp site. They've got a wealth of guys. Ryan Weathers is another guy. Morajan, is a guy that I think is looking to be in the rotation, which is, he's had a really good spring. You were asking during the break, guys that had a really good spring and AJ Casavel of MLB.com suggested that Morajan is the guy that's the leading candidate for that. And you look at him, he's putting a lot of guys on base. He's walked 8 guys. I'm not quite sold on him. I think I'd rather see Gore there.
I always thought it was Morajon. But
I think you're right. You might be right.
I like Morajan better. It's a kind of a fun name to pronounce, and we butchered it throughout the minor league. So, but I don't know. Regardless, whether it's Morajon, you're right. He's not there yet, is he?
Right. No, not quite. I don't think so.
He's not going to arrive until we correctly pronounce his name on a regular basis. That's the way I look at it.
There you go. Let's blame it on us and not him. There you go. But yeah, he's got great stuff. He's interesting, but at the same time, I just don't think he's quite ready.
Let's stay with the Padres for a second. Is Emilio Pagan going to be the closer, or is it going to be Drew Pomeranz, assuming he can get healthy?
I think it's Pagan, judging by the latest comments here. Kevin Acee of the San Diego Union Tribune suggested it's going to be Pagan. I get whipsawed by him. I always get the wrong guy with the Padres, unfortunately. Pomeranz is really good, but he's got the forearm now. He had problems last year during the season too, and durability is part of the picture here when you're trying to decide who's going to be at the back end of the games. Melanson, I was a little surprised it wasn't him instead of Pagan. That's the part that threw me off guard. I had a league where I got Pomeranz and Melanson as the two guys in the Padres. And I could have wasted 2 picks in the teens on those guys if neither of them were going to close.
What about Domingo Germán and the kind of spring he's had right now with the Yankees?
Yeah, he's had really good on the mound performances. Pretty bad performance in the press conference, but he's looking really good. He's thrown the thing is that they have so many guys in the Yankees that a lot of their candidates have to pitch in B games and inter-squad games. So he's only had 3 official appearances, but 13 Ks in 9 innings, only 1 walk. Davy Garcia has kind of struggled a little bit there. For all purposes, it looks like it's going to be Germán.
When will we see Roberto Osuna get a new contract and find a team? Because teams are having closer issues. You got to wonder. The guy's got so much talent. I know he's got his off-the-field problems, but do you think anybody's going to take a shot with him, or is he just going to stay out there unsigned?
I think it's the health problems are just as big a concern with him. So I don't know. I haven't heard any buzz about him whatsoever. And I think that's it. I think that the off-the-field issues are used when you're not convinced the player is going to perform on the field. If he was that valuable of an asset to teams, I think they'd go out of their way to sign him. We're seeing that with Puig a little bit. Puig, Yasiel Puig has a sexual misconduct allegation against him. That might be, and that's still kind of unsolved. Whereas Osuna, he's gone through it already. I think that's where you can draw the distinction. But there's been, Puig, there's been buzz here and there, and it's nothing ever materializes. And I think that's probably like the trump card against him, is that still hovering.
Is this the year that Shohei Ohtani just puts it all together and stays healthy, throws 100 miles an hour, and then hits 30 bombs for the Angels?
I sure hope so. He's a fun. I mean, I don't even have. It won't even be on my watch. I don't have him in any league so far. I might have him in one keeper league coming up, but honestly, I want it to happen. I mean, he's such a fascinating player, such a fascinating story, and he's been through so much at the big league level. And I'm rooting for him. I think it'd be amazing, but it takes a big wear and tear on your body to play every day. I was listening to MLB Network Radio, and they're talking to I think it was Ryan Spielborgs was discussing how he was reading up on Babe Ruth and how much of a toll it took on Babe Ruth. And he just said, I can't do this anymore. Back when he was with the Red Sox, one of the reasons why the Red Sox traded him is he wasn't willing to be a two-way player anymore.
That's interesting. And then look what I think maybe he knew what he was talking about, right? Not a bad decision going to right field for the Yankees.
Turned out okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Hey, Ty France has been killing it for Seattle, playing second, playing third. I think they envision him as being the heir apparent once they part ways with Seager. But in the meantime, as he has second base this year, all he's doing is hitting.
He sure is. He's having a great spring. 1301 OPS. I think that's good. Part of the Mariner crew that all around is hitting a lot. Now, the Mariners are really interesting. France is there. We've heard plenty about Jared Kelenic. But they have Julio Rodriguez. They have this kid named Nueve Marte, who's really interesting. They've got Taylor Trammell, who was at one point in the Padres organization. They've got a lot of interesting prospects, a lot of young guys. I'll tell you what, these teams tend to come on quicker than you're ready, quicker than you're expecting. And all of a sudden, boom, they're here and they're contending. I remember the Rays when they went to the World Series. They were below 500 the year before. I don't think the Mariners are that close to being ready, but I certainly like a dabble in the over-under on their 71 wins this year, especially because I don't think the AL West is all that strong this year. So I think it's a good chance for them to break through.
Who's going to be the most disappointing team in the West, in your opinion?
Angels. They always are. We always, and it's a shame because Mike Trout is all that. But they just do such a poor job of building around him. I mean, I think they had a better offseason, but still, you look at that pitching staff. I don't see an ace there. I see Andrew Heaney as being pretty good. Ohtani would be the ace if he ever fulfills his potential. That would be like the the A story if that worked that way. But they have a lot of 3rd and 4th starters on that team.
Token fantasy football question on this segment comes from Augustine. He wants to know, Taysom Hill, will he start? He should be electric, from Augustine.
50-50 chance. I mean, it's him and Winston again. And they bring completely different skill sets. And I could see a hybrid solution here too, which of course is a fantasy nightmare, but it might work well for the Saints. You know, they could have Hill come in for a series or, you know, goal line situations. I think he will see that for sure. You already saw that already, but you'll see more of that with Drew Brees retiring. You know, it's wide open. But Winston is, you know, I'd like to see Jameis Winston with that Saints offense too, wouldn't you?
I think it'd be a lot of fun. I do. Yeah. I think that'd be good. So anyway, part of the fantasy football conversation here with Jeff Erickson. All right, let's preview what you've got up on the website right now at rotowire.com. Not to mention the new magazine is out, which is important. I was able to get fortunate enough to have a copy. Thank you for that and giving me a little head start for my fantasy baseball drafts here that we're in the middle of right now.
Yeah, you bet. We did the time-honored tradition of underproducing our magazines and selling them out. No, we didn't mean to do that on purpose. It's just we thought there might be a delay in the season, so we didn't do as wide a distribution. We did it all self-published. Well, didn't self-publish, but also through the site, sold the magazines through the site. You still can get a PDF of the magazine. All our articles from the magazine are going up on the site. Of course, updated projections, updated, player news updates, depth charts. All of our tools are up on the site. During in-season, our free agent columns, our projected starters grids are as good as anything in the business. I'll put it up against anything. So check it all out, rotowire.com/free. Hopefully you enjoy it. You get a 10-day trial. You don't have to plunk down a credit card or anything. Just a valid email address, register with us. And if it expires, it expires. But we think you'll like it. So we want you to subscribe, check it out.
I think that you feel confident enough that if you go check it out for 7 days for free, somebody's going to want to continue that opportunity and get as much of that as they can.
Exactly. That's their goal.
All right. Good job as always, Jeff. Pleasure having you back with us again and look forward to our chat with you next week right before the season starts. Then we can start getting some predictions from you as far as Rookie of the Year, MVP, Cy Young, and all that fun stuff.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it, Steve. Thanks a lot.